They keep throwing the idea that being masculine in general is toxic, because if you're a masculine man, this is what third wave feminism is basically pushing.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Tell me. Okay.
So men being hyper masculine. I consider myself a hyper masculine man. I got all kinds of guns. I want to go camp in the woods. I like sports cars.
That type of masculine.
Toxic, the whole term of like toxic masculinity.
They're saying that's toxic.
They're saying that being a masculine man is toxic because it does not equate to empowering women. They automatically
100% not.
They automatically equate it to what the woman's perspective is. And I'm like,
I think if you didn't have guns in your house, it would be a problem. I'm like, where's your, what do we got here?
Yeah.
Are we sewing? Like, what are we?
It's a weird phenomenon.
You should be into your cars. You should be into your boys' night, into the sports, into guns, and absolutely 100%. I think that's so attractive. As long as you can turn it off when you're in a conversation with a woman and be able to grasp and understand a woman like you can.
Well, of course. So there's obviously you have to have some emotional intelligence. You have to be able to connect with a woman in an emotional way. But men are largely not emotional. Men are largely pretty grunts. You know what I mean? Like we're pretty.
Andrew Tate, I agree with 80% of what he says.
I was just going to ask you about him.
He said men by nature are not supposed to be monogamous. But you as a woman, right? If I know, and this is why I'm so careful about my name, my reputation. I don't want to go anywhere where someone can say, oh yeah, I've been with it. No, I keep my private life is very private. Your name is your everything as a woman. He said, if I can say, oh, 2 of my friends have been with you, I don't want anything to do with you. And he's right about that. Men get a pass on some of this. They do, unfortunately.
So you're born in Croatia.
Correct.
Been here since a young kid?
9 years old.
9 years old. Okay, so you were, what is that, like third grade, fourth grade? Okay.
Started 4th grade here.
Okay. Did you learn English over there or did you learn it here?
In our country, as you know, we start learning a second language in 1st grade.
Sure.
So I knew the basics, but they pretty much throw you into ESL, English second language, with the other foreign kids. But that was only for a year. I pick up on languages quick.
Okay.
Probably within a year, I was fluent.
Okay, cool. So you have that talent. You don't have really an accent. I don't. I can hear a little bit.
It's Midwest.
Yeah.
From Columbus.
So from Columbus.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear something in there. It's not Croatian, but I heard something. I don't know what it is.
Oh, I'm like a chameleon though, because we moved to Kentucky. So Kentucky is where I lived the longest.
So hold on. Do you have a Kentucky accent?
I used to have a really bad. I used to say
back?
"warsh" instead of "wash." Yeah.
Warsh?
Warsh.
Get that hand wash on that car.
Yeah,
okay, I like it.
It was really, really bad. And then when I went to Columbus, because I personally believe Midwest has the cleanest English.
Yeah.
I cleaned it up. Okay. It resurfaces when I meet someone from the South.
Most of your life has been spent in the United States.
Yes.
Right now, you're in a career real estate.
Correct.
So how did you get in that? Give me a little bit of your background, just so everybody that's going to be watching on the podcast kind of knows who you are.
I went to school. I went to Elon University. I got a double major in philosophy and political science. The goal was to go to law school. I'd be a 3rd-generation attorney. My dad was, my grandpa. So that was the goal. The end of my senior year, I had a really bad car accident. So I came where my parents were, which was Orlando, Florida. Never lived in Florida before, so came after college. And that year, I kind of took to, while I was doing physical therapy, to figure out what I wanted to do. So I said, let me try working at a law firm to see if that's something I really want to do. So I started working for Morgan & Morgan. This was back in 08, 09, 2010, I think.
Okay.
So I was there for about 2 years. I was one of their top case managers. Eventually, we did PI, so personal injury. And then after a while, I'm like, I don't think this is what I want to do. The type of law that I had a passion about would never make me money. It was human rights. I would work for free for the Peace Corps somewhere, just because of the things that happened in our country, obviously, with the Civil War.
Sure.
So my mom, she's the executive architect for David Siegel. So she said, hey, I heard a lot of people make money in timeshare. Like, why don't you try this? So I went to them and I said, here's the deal. I'm going to get my real estate license. I'm getting my 2 weeks. And everybody laughed at me, right? They're like, you're giving all this up, right? Okay. They're like, the door's open, because you have your own office. You have stats. There's doctors' offices that take you to happy hours. It was nice,
Yeah.
you know, but it wasn't the money that I wanted to make, obviously. And the first year when I got into it, I started with Westgate, obviously. I think in my first month, I doubled my yearly salary at what I was making. So needless to
kinda
say,
off to the races.
never look back. And then you just climb in the industry. So that was the best place, obviously, to get your ground work in, to kind of set the training for it, get all the basics. Eventually went to Hilton, then to Diamond. Loved Diamond. It was a very, very different concept in the timeshare industry. People think timeshare, they think week 42 in the Poconos. It's not that anymore. Just like phones are, right, what they were. These are open market points that literally you can do anything. So it's like buying a set of cash, right? A set of cash one time, but you get it deposited for the rest of your life. So imagine you have 30,000 points, right? These points, you can book any cruise line, up to Viking River cruises, luxury cruises, Disney, luxury homes. There's 50,000 luxury homes. It's a complete internal like Airbnb system. Flights, tours, like talk tours, right? A 14-day Adriatic tour. So those points, let's say, have an open market value of $15,000 of travel every year, right? So that 15 is deposited every single year. You pay, let's say, $100,000 for that package.
So
On the
and then
seventh
you have
year,
all
you're
these
good.
options.
On the eighth, yeah, it's a very fluid, very flexible, very open market system. The comm plans are much higher than in general real estate. Obviously, I can't do that and residential because you can only hang your license with one broker, so they act as my broker. But you have companies, I just did a little TikTok video on it, running 12 to 18%.
Are you currently working for somebody else, or are you working for yourself?
I have businesses back home.
Okay.
But here, Hilton, AGV Max is my broker.
Okay, gotcha.
That would be my broker. So I'm a manager, and then there's people under me that sell.
Okay.
So then I take a portion of them, the floor.
And then you do your own sales on top of that as well.
Then I do that. I do.
Okay.
I have a couple of LLCs here, money market. So I dabble in everything. If I see an opportunity,
That's
I'm
good.
on it.
Well,
Yeah.
so you're really doing a true diversified entrepreneur type of idea.
Exactly.
That's awesome. We were talking off camera before the film started rolling. You've gotten a lot of publicity lately, and super cool publicity. Caught my eye immediately, and I immediately wanted to have you on the podcast. So I saw all this stuff, and when I see women entrepreneurs, when I see women that are doing things, I get intrigued. I get interested. There's a lot of women entrepreneurs now. We're maybe a little bit older than some of our audience on TikTok and Instagram.
Sure.
We're past the age of 35, even though we both look 25. Just so everybody's clear.
24,
Okay.
25.
Yeah. So we're in the 24, 25 looking.
Just so everyone's clear.
Yeah. So we may look young, but we're a little bit more experienced, maybe.
Yes.
So when I saw these articles coming out, immediately intrigued me, and I wanted to start asking you questions. So I'm like, all right, let's just have a conversation on a podcast. And we know several people in common,
And we've seen each other out, but just
I think
never-
I've literally waved at you before,
Yeah.
smiled at you
Yeah.
before at parties, and we just kind of walked by because, we never really truly introduced to each other. So we just did it today before
love
you
it.
walked on the podcast. So it was great.
Perfect.
So the articles that you had coming out, entrepreneurship for females,
Correct.
you had one just come out in Maxim. Pretty big accomplishment.
Pretty big deal.
So that Maxim article, tell me a little bit about that. How did that come about? Tell me about your mindset with that article. Just give me some background on your thoughts with the article and kind of what you said in there.
I'm a creature of habit. And when I know what I'm good at, and I will run that to the max. But we get complacent, right? So I have my main job making money here. I have my businesses there. I have this residual. But I said there's so many tools out there with social media that you can really monetize on. And why am I not utilizing that? So a while ago, this was way back last year, I decided to hire a PR team. I said, this is their field. My field of expertise is what I do best, which is sales and closing. That's just what I do. But they know how to market. They know I can reach a certain audience, but I have a way to reach a broader audience. Now, I paid a lot of money for this PR team.
PR costs money, always.
Always. And I remember people laughed and they were like, what? Like, you're paying like 60, 70 grand. to me, the way that I look at it, I said, I have always invested in myself. And investing in yourself is 100% profit. There's no way I can lose, you know? Everything else, and I couldn't justify it to myself that I can spend $300,000-$400,000 on a car that I'm probably going to trade in a couple of years, but I won't invest, you know, let's call it 100 between everything on myself for a lifetime resume. And that's the way that I looked at it. Eventually, my long-term plan is to open up my own brokerage, to really franchise it, to have, you know, Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, Miami offices. That's the goal. And people look at your substance, right? Who is it that I'm dealing with?
Yeah.
So I think it's very, very important to have a resume. And this team really took off. You know, we started doing interviews with different articles. Obviously, there's some hubs internationally that they have, a lot in the UK, which is good because that arena is also my arena, and I'm not there physically. So it's
Well, you
very
do some
hard
European
for me.
market stuff.
Correct.
Yeah,
So
which
it's
is
very
good.
hard for me to. So then, you know, it spreads to that area, which was great. And I think it was kind of surprising to them too, because a couple of the things blew up and we have no idea why.
Well,
we just went on, like, we'll do a couple interviews. We're going to submit an article, you know, see if they like it. And I'll never forget when the Forbes came out, which was huge. I think maybe people just resonate with me in general. I always say I have something about a therapist or a life coach by my, I don't know, persona that people are drawn to. So maybe it's easier. I'm also an immigrant. I'm also a woman. I've also never depended on a man for anything, you know. So it's a little bit of a different run that I think people resonate with. And the one article I think that really took off, which is not even business related, was about my IVF journey. And it wasn't me saying I don't need a man. I just have always looked at life different. I was never one of those women who, you know, in our 20s was like, I can't wait to get married. And then, no, let me run my businesses. Let me get my properties. And everything's paid off. I have nothing to worry about. All my properties, all my cars, everything. I'm very smart about my money. There's no debt. There's no loan, nothing like that. I put myself in a position that I don't have to depend on anyone and I don't have to justify what I do to anyone.
Gotcha.
Right? But at that point, I was like, wow, I'm like 35 now. Not now, but at that point, I was like, I really want a child. It was not like, hey, let me get married. I just really want a child, right? And I just started thinking about it at that time, and I was like, let me take a little more time. And then last year, I was like, I need to do this. So I did IVF to freeze my eggs. And that's just to buy me time. That's not to say I'm not going to meet someone next year or whatever. And if I do, great. But if I don't, I can do it on my own timeline.
You still have the option.
Correct. And I also secure myself. And I gave an interview with The Sun, more to help women, more to kind of share my story and to say, hey, there are different options and maybe it will help someone or inspire them or something. And I never forget, DJ Nasty like hits me up in the DM. He's like, is this you? I'm like, huh? And I look and there's this page, like blogger page, I guess, on IG that ran the story. And of course, you had like a million comments, like crazy comments, like,
IG?
She's going to be 60 with a 5-year-old, you know.
Yeah.
That can bother me for a second. And I was like, so I asked my PR team, I'm like, should we delete this? And they're like, no. They're like, all like press is good press. And I'm like, okay.
Even bad press is good press.
I'm like,
absolutely.
Okay, great. And then Richard, one of the guys, he came back and he was like, holy crap.
You can swear a little bit.
You can swear.
Yeah.
Okay. He was like,
we're past the first 5 minutes. I don't think YouTube yells at us for that.
He was like, holy shit, I just noticed there's like 10 different articles that ran this, including the New York Post.
Yep. So it trended somewhere and then they started grabbing it. That's awesome.
I've seen articles in Taiwanese and Chinese, one in Serbian.
Cool.
Right? Yeah, Brkic or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is wild. And they were all pulling like different pictures that they liked from, so each article had different pictures. One used a reel. So I just thought it was so cool. And I was like, well, I didn't mean it to be that public. It was more of a private thing kind of. But I said, okay, if it's out there, it's out there. So It was just so straight. And I think within a week, 40 different articles ran the story.
It's awesome.
40 different, internationally. So that was kind of cool. But you really don't know where the social trend is going. And sometimes it just takes off and you got to run with it.
So I read that article on the IVF journey. It interested me because my wife and I, my wife's a couple years older than me, going through IVF now. We have 2 healthy embryo, and they're going to be hopefully, transferring?
Oh,
one
good,
of the
good,
embryo
good.
next month.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Fingers
That's
crossed
wonderful.
for
Fingers
our
crossed.
first kid. Yeah,
It's not a pleasant process, but once you,
it's worth it.
It's
you
worth
know.
it.
But I mean, we didn't have the opportunity to meet when we were in our 20s. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So like, hey,
Same.
that's what happens. That's what happens. So real quick, if you don't mind me
No.
asking, and you can answer or not answer, are you single?
Yes.
Okay, everybody, she's single.
Well,
So
yes.
eligible men, potentially, there's a lot of people that are, I'm finding a lot more entrepreneurs and a lot more people of higher status watching the podcast because of what we've recently been putting out. So, I always like to ask that.
No, that's a good question. And
yeah.
I think I'm just not going to settle until everything aligns.
Gotcha.
And we're not talking about monetary or, someone. There's a very huge problem with people with trauma, with broken people, traumatized people, and lifestyles that really just don't align with mine. I need someone who knows who they are, who's confident, who has their own ambitions, who has their own goals, and someone that can really meet that like 5th level
Gotcha.
mindset, because I really don't care what your favorite color is.
What's that person?
or what you're doing on a Friday night. Let's plan some trips and see if we can invest in some properties and some businesses, and then we'll talk.
Gotcha. So you're looking for somebody at your level or above, I assume.
100%.
Which is what most women look for. It's funny because I have a lot of conversations on, male-female dynamics, especially in the West, how they work, how they don't work, where they should be, where they shouldn't be. And everybody has a different opinion. And
Sure.
one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on is because when I read your Maxim article, some things I agreed with, some things I didn't agree with.
Oh, I'd like to hear that.
So I'm like, oh, we got to get in this.
Okay.
We got to get in this debate.
I love that. Yes.
Because we're both Croatian. We're both entrepreneurs. We're both successful. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is a perfect combination. The only thing that's different about you and I is our sex.
That's true.
That's it.
That's it.
So we're basically the same kind of people, from every business aspect. So, okay, so I'm looking at this, I'm like, why do we differ here? Is it only because of our gender, or what is it? You know what I mean?
Interesting. Okay.
So that's kind of why I
point.
was so piqued and interested about talking to you, especially after the Maxim article. The rest of your articles were great. The IVF one was a personal, one for me. I really enjoyed it. I'm happy it blew up.
Good.
A lot of women are dealing with that right now.
Yeah, and the amount of women that have reached out is crazy. I had one girl, and obviously I'm not going to mention names, and she went to my clinic and did it. She was like, I literally pushed it out for so long. This gave me the push. I gave her my doctor's name, and that means something to me. I thrive on that. Like I've just never understood competition. I've never understood envy. I've never been jealous of anyone. It can't happen. I can say, you might have it up on me. You know what I mean? You might have a better car, you might have, but my mind, you'll never have it up on, because my mind is so strong that those feelings can't even come into it. I'm happy for people. Like I hope that you have 5 kids,
Me too.
And when I see that, it brings me joy. Like if it was mine, then maybe that is a part of being like a deep empath, but I really love to see people win. I love to see people succeed.
There's not that jealousy thing in you.
Never.
That's
never
a
in
good
personal life. Never in. I have exes that I'm great friends with, and I wish them the best, and I'll give advice. I'm like, hey, how about this girl? Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's just not even on my radar. My switch off button is very quick. Because anything that I carry is within me.
Gotcha.
Right? I have no attachment to anything. I'm connected to everything, attached to nothing. Attachment is rooted in evil, right? But I'm connected to it, deeply connected, not attached to anything. Because people will say, oh, well, I have everything I need. Why do you have everything you need? Have is an attachment. I am everything I need. Take everything away from me, and I'm still walking with my head high, knowing who I am. So that also is an issue in personal life, because you don't have that many people that are that whole.
Yeah.
And it's almost intimidating to a sense. Not intimidating, but they feel like they can't add up. They can't match up.
So I have a belief when it comes to relationships and relationship dynamics, and you may disagree with it, and it'll be.
Ooh, I'm curious.
I know. This is fun. I have all kinds of notes because I love again your Maxim article triggered so much in me, and I'm like, okay, yes, this is good conversation. So I believe men and women are supposed to be partnered. I believe it. I believe deep down rooted in my heart
Okay.
that men and women are not meant to be alone and separated from each other for life. You know what I mean? Where I have women that, you know, I'm friends with and they're like, I don't need a man. I'm never going to get married. I don't care about having kids. And I think about that. And when I see women that are older, much older than us, you know, when I'm seeing women in their 50s, 60s,
Okay.
past their age of being able to conceive a child.
Say prime.
You know what I mean? So yeah, there you go, past their prime. So past their prime, you know, and they're not maybe able to attract that mate that they really want to, you know, because we all have these standards, right? So they're not able to get to that point. I don't see any of those women really truly happy that I've seen. You know what I mean? So when I look at that, I'm like, okay, I really do think that man and woman, and, you know, we're not talking about, you know.
It's not contingent on a man, though.
It's not.
It's because they're not truly happy with themselves.
So I agree and disagree.
Okay.
I think that we are two halves of a whole. Yes, you can be a complete person. You can be a complete person. You can be very happy with you as a person. I think
that adds to it.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think there is a missing piece of that, because if you're only by yourself forever, that's a tough life. You know what I mean? But if you have a partner, you know, and we're not getting into sexual identity or anything like that. I don't care if you date men, women, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. But I'm just talking about having a partner. So you and I are heterosexual, male and woman. You know, so male and female heterosexuals. Correct. You like men, I like women. I think that we perform at our best when we find our true match as a partner.
I can see that.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's synergy, the yin and yang, right?
100%.
I see that, and I'm seeing a little bit of a weird shift in how I'm a huge sociology person. That was my
philosophy and sociology.
There you go. Yeah. So I was a sociology major in college. I transitioned that into criminology, but I love the way that people behave and think. And the social structure in the West mostly is the most intriguing to me.
I agree.
So I'm going to go back to your article in Maxim. Okay. And, you know, on what you were saying in there with, you know, empowering women, everything like that. Love every part of it. I was raised by women. I was raised by my mother, my grandmother, my aunts. My father left when I was relatively young. My stepfather committed suicide when I was like 13, 14. So I actually don't remember the age. I probably blocked that out of my memory. You know, so I didn't really have male role models that were really intimate in my life.
That's how you relate to women.
Probably.
On that level as well.
Probably. Okay. So, you know, I feel like I maybe have a little more of an intimate connection to women than most men do.
Correct.
But, you know, I look at it from a masculine perspective because my mother never instilled feminine perspective into me.
Gotcha.
She was always making sure that I was a masculine man. Go play sports, you know, go be a man.
She had to be both.
Exactly. Because she's raising two boys.
Correct.
You know, I don't have any sisters. But she was very pushy on the fact that we needed to have that masculine energy because we were men. You know what I mean? So that masculine feminine energy idea, I think it's getting a little skewed in the U.S. And I kind of want to know your thought on it. For the first time in history of the world, there are less than 50% of women hitting the age of 30 that don't have kids.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It is.
It's a weird phenomenon, right? And it's coming through, you know, Western ideology, Western culture, an equality mindset on men and women. Women are much more in the workplace. Women are making their own money. Women are empowered to say they quote unquote don't need a man, right? Which, you know,
that one sentence I don't like when it's stated like that. And I know in one of the articles is like, oh, she doesn't need a man. That's not true. I love men. I think men are amazing. I connect with men better. Like some of my best guy friends, some of my best conversations are with men, because I have more of that. I don't like the gossip. I don't like the drama. I have more of mental male perspective, I guess you can say, on a lot of things. That whole movement is, I don't need a man. I don't like that. I think it's more, we love men. They're great. We'd love to have a partner with one that aligns.
Maybe you don't want to be dependent. Maybe you don't want to be dependent on a man.
Let's also be independent and have our own companies, businesses, and that. So I'm not like a hardcore feminist, nothing like that.
I was going to ask
all.
because I was going to ask because
I think men are great.
I see your, you love women's rights. You love being an activist. You love being a voice for women
Yes.
to empower them.
Correct.
And I was going to ask you, I'm like, do you consider yourself a feminist?
No, not at all. I guess practical
Yeah.
kid from a socialist country.
Well,
that
yeah, for
was
sure.
Like, here's what has personally bothered me, I would think, in the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's always like, oh, we need to prove ourselves as women in the workforce in these male-dominated industries. And I think the reason that article was a little different than most articles because it's an arena that is not run by women. It's not fashion. It's not makeup. It's not. These are easy. You have to go into real estate, financing, money markets. That's ran by men. And those are the ones you have to penetrate. And when you penetrate those that are generally male dominated, right, that's a little tougher of a road.
So when you're saying male dominated, are you talking about from a leadership perspective or from a working perspective? Because 60%,
Leadership.
okay, gotcha. Because 60% of real estate agents are women. And I was talking about this to my wife, and I'm like, you know what's weird? I'm like, I have actually.
How many own the brokerage companies?
I don't know.
Leadership.
And that's what. So you're talking about the leadership style.
Correct.
So every real estate agent I've ever spoken to, from a real estate perspective for buying a home, looking at homes, every one of them was woman.
Yeah.
I've spoken to one real estate person that was a man, and they were a commercial real estate. Some hard-nosed commercial real estate guy, big time dude, whatever. That was the only guy I ever spoke to. And I'm like, man, there's a lot of women in this industry.
No, it's very, and it's cool to see, but from a leadership point of view.
So you're thinking,
your vice presidents, your CEOs, your CFOs, COOs.
Why do you think that is?
The first one about the equality. So I think in the recent years, men have really given us our place. They see it, right? They commend us. I don't really have a lot of problems proving my point or something that I'm asking for to my CFO. They'll take it as they will my counterpart male, right? So they look at us as equal, I think, at this point, across the board.
In the workplace.
In the workplace, yeah. As long as you're putting up the numbers, showing the results, that's really all they're looking at this point, and I think that's a great trend. So I think recently what has happened is the women that have taken us back, and that's the part that bothers me.
Ooh, explain. I want you to unpack that a little bit.
So they have literally reverted us 20, 30 years back.
Why do you say that?
Because 80% of the things that you see, things that are out there that are in, and I'm not just talking about, your downtowns and this and that, but women have made it so easy to say, hey, I'm pretty. Let me sit back. Let me get a purse. Why? Like, why is that ever okay? And you see so much of it. And then, of course, they're not happy because once, whoever is bored with buying the gifts, now we got to go to someone else that buys. And this is what we've placed our self-worth and identity to. And it's the saddest thing that I've seen. How about, let me figure out what business I can start. Let me figure out where I can work and buy that for myself. That is the part that's taken us back. And it's really unfortunate because you didn't see that in the 90s. And I know this sounds crazy, but your 90s was like all like women empowerment, Jewel, Alanis Morissette coming out with. I mean, that was a big, big era. And you saw like women really step, now with maybe it's a social media trend, like who knows? And they see it, so we pick up on it, right? Why is selling our bodies on some level, right? Why is that okay? And I don't judge anyone. Everyone has their own platforms.
Sure.
I have friends that have certain reasons for, and I support that. I love my friends. I don't care if you post you're with 5 guys or a Christmas card with 2 children and a white picket fence. I'm going to support you.
Yeah.
If I love you, I'm going to support you. Whatever it is you choose to do. This is just me speaking personally. That is a trend that I see, and it makes it very hard for women like me, and in personal life too.
So what do you think about people that look at that perspective and they say, well, I don't want men objectifying me, but they're kind of objectifying themselves, right?
Correct.
These girls that are on OnlyFans or Instagram models, what have you, whatever that actually is. So what do you think about these girls saying, well, I am empowered to do that, and that gives me a feeling of power, and it gives me a feeling of equality, and I can show it because I have the power to do that. What do you think about somebody that gives that argument? Because I'll give you my opinion after you give me yours on what it does to me.
I think it's okay, and we all walk different walks of life. On some aspect, it's okay because hey, here you are, whatever you have to use to make your money for yourself. I think it's okay. So I don't have any judgment on that arenas. I think it's more of the women that are just floating around. We're just floating around on Friday, Saturday nights, going to these dinners, the next social climb, this, that. It's so much of that it's almost like discerning to see, and you see it all around you. And then it's like, of course, these men don't feel like they have to do anything. Of course, these men don't feel like they have to open up a door for me because everything else is free on a Friday night or Saturday. Of course, they don't feel like they have to make a nice reservation and say, hey, why? Because they don't even have to have dinner to get what they want. And that is a really disturbing trend because it's like it almost ruins our name. Like we've worked so hard, you know. We have women in politics now. We have women owning their own companies, you know. And then
more women CEOs have been hired over the last 5 years than were in the last 15.
Wave. Yeah. So you're saying about men in the 90s did, I think. It was like, hey, let me take you to the movies, right? Let's you and I go on a date. There's just no effort in anything anymore. And it's like, what makes you think that I want to have anything to do with you? First of all, you're not even on my life. Second, to have anything to do with you, and I'll give it a shot. And I'm very patient. I'm very giving, and I'll help people, and I'll try to build them, and I'll try to instill confidence and empowerment. I'm like this, because I'm all about I've never wanted a made man. I'll eat shit with you and to help you build it up if you want. Because I'm all right, because I'm set. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. But would you date somebody that was lower income than you?
I wouldn't mind.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%, because it's never about the money.
Okay.
It's never about the money.
What is it about?
Character, integrity, confidence, ambition.
Okay.
That is it. If you can't hit, well, hopefully all four.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well,
three.
I mean, you want to hit all of them. You know what I mean? You want to hit your ideal man. You don't want to settle. Everybody says, "Well, I'm not going to settle until I find the right man." Right. So
and it's all talk. That's all talk. Oh, this and that, and then you look back when you like sit back from it all. You're like, really? Like that's what you are? Because people love to paint themselves in a certain light.
Can I do an exercise with you?
Yeah.
This is really
Let's do
fun.
it.
So I've done this with a lot of people, and it's really fun.
No, do it.
So this is called, and don't judge it by the name immediately, please. This is called the female delusion calculator.
All right.
It's really cool. So I'm going to ask you some basic questions on the man of your dreams.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
This is fun.
We're talking about Bradley Cooper.
Okay, perfect. So Bradley Cooper's the guy.
Right,
if he ever watches this, I'm gonna make sure he knows, right? All right. So Bradley Cooper is your guy. So give me a window of age of guys that you would be interested in.
Window of age.
Yeah.
Oof.
It can be any age. It can be as big or as small as you want.
I've tried a little younger lately just because I've always gotten
there is
older, so don't
nothing
judge
wrong with
me.
that.
I was on my Kim K.
There is
P.
nothing
Davidson
wrong with
trend.
it.
It's so hard because I don't want to stereotype either because I don't think that's fair because I know how I was at 25 and I want to think that I was mature and this and that, which I was, but I'm a completely different person at 30. I think at 30 you really hit some sort of a turning point, some sort of, I would say 30 to 45.
30 to 45. Okay, we're going to put that in. This may sound like an odd question, but this is part of this equation. Married or unmarried? Or all? So like
unmarried.
Unmarried. That's what most people say. But I've had girls answer this question.
And
I don't care if they're married.
Yeah. No.
And I'm like, all right, okay. So we're going to exclude.
My point exactly.
Yeah. So we're going to exclude married men.
Yes.
Any preference in race, color, shade, anything like that? And the options are any color or shade, white, black, or Asian.
I don't see color, race, anything ever. I just always tend to go for pretty white boys over 6.
Okay.
That is just like
okay.
my
So are we gonna go with white?
Sure.
Okay. So we're gonna go with white boys. Minimum height. This is a big one.
6.
6 foot tall. Okay.
I can't even I don't know.
And
that's my one like
That's most women have said over
Have
6
they said,
foot.
okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm almost 6 with my heels.
There you go. And there's a thing that I can click, exclude obese men, I assume. Okay, so no obese men. Minimum income. And be honest on it. Minimum income. Because I don't think you're going to date a scrub that's making $30K a year working at McDonald's. No offense to anybody making $30K a year, but I don't think you are going to go for that. So what's the minimum income you would date?
Minimum income could actually be zero. If those 4 things align.
Okay.
But if they don't, what
well,
do you
let's
have?
say this is the calculation.
Call it 100.
I assume
Sure.
I assume you want to make that. You want to make some kind of money. You
Yeah,
don't want to.
call
You
it
don't want to be
100.
sugar mama
No,
in this situation.
Call it 100. Yeah.
Okay.
That's been my peak era lately. Yeah.
Okay. So no sugar mama status.
I'm like reverting back.
Any of you gentlemen that are looking for a sugar mama, she's not the one right now.
Not the one, right?
She wants somebody who makes her own money.
That's
All right.
right.
So this calculation is going to find out what
How delusional I am.
No, what the percent. It is kind of a delusion thing. But what percent in statistical data? The craziest thing about this is actually based on 2020 U.S. Census data.
Oh wow. Okay.
So this is real. This is
Okay.
real
All right.
information.
I'm curious now.
So you have a 0.37% chance of meeting that man, according to U.S. Census.
Well, no wonder. I thought I couldn't see a good man because my lashes were so big, but I guess the less than 1%.
I've heard that joke
explains
recently,
it.
and I absolutely love it.
My girlfriend's hair sent it to me. I died yesterday.
So 0.37%. Now,
Wow.
this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to unclick married, okay? I'm going to do this again. Now it's only a 1.7% chance.
Wow.
And listen, because the average height for men is 5'7". So
'cause
you're
you take the height
excluding
factor,
you're
yeah.
excluding a lot of people by
Lot of
6 foot.
people.
I mean, listen, everybody wants the tall, dark, and handsome kind of whatever. I mean, everybody wants that. So now you see where that that's why they call it the female delusion calculator, because it really kind of puts it in perspective. And I'm kind of looking into the psychology of this, and I'm looking into what's happening here in the West compared to the rest of the world. And
I think that percentage is unfortunately seeing the 80% that we're talking about, and they're so discerned about it. They haven't hit my 1%, or they can't. It's hot, right.
So
because those cultures still have some sort of that core value. Like I was raised Roman Catholic, right? Mm-hmm. Myself, I decided I was raised Roman Catholic.
Sure.
My dad really is not religious at all. My mom, said, hey, whatever you want. I started Bible study, and I've always just been that way. But family is so important. And these women know those core values, what it is to take care of a man, what it is to be loyal, what it means to have a feminine way to carry yourself, to respect yourself. And of course, when those men see what's happening here, I mean, I see it and I'm like, it almost embarrasses me. It's almost, my girlfriend said it best, secondhand embarrassment.
well, you're having
It's literally secondhand embarrassment.
you're looking for high value men, and high value men do not want a woman like that at
Correct.
home. They don't want
and
that.
they can't find it because that's the 80%, and maybe they're not hitting when you do the calculator with them, maybe I'm that 1% or my other girlfriends.
What you just said kind of triggered that you are a very rare situation, because you just mentioned femininity. Mm-hmm. You just mentioned being in touch with your femininity. They want a woman who, knows how to cook, knows how to be a wife, knows how to be a woman in a relationship.
Correct.
And
have the morals that
yes.
our generation has lost.
A lot of people that are in your situation that are entrepreneurs, okay? Women that are self-made entrepreneurs making their own money, that have maybe that attitude of, I don't need a man, right?
Correct.
Do you know what happens to a lot of those women? I don't think it happened to you because of where you came from. Because you're Croatian, because you grew up in the culture.
Partnership is wonderful. I completely agreed with that first thing that you said 15, 20 minutes ago.
So, you kept the femininity in it. Mm-hmm. What most women here in the West are doing is
they've gone hard.
Well, they're getting a masculine demeanor.
Yeah.
And men like me, so everything you named, I'm in that group. Yeah. I'm over 6 feet tall. I'm, $1 million, revenue, whatever. I'm not fat. I don't think I'm fat. I got a little bit. I don't have abs right now. So, I'm one of those, men. I'm married, but, if I were single, I would be in that group. So if you're going to ask me from a male perspective, what do I want in a woman? The odd thing that may be shocking to you is that most men don't care how much you make. Most men don't care about your success. Men in general don't try to date up.
That is literally what I was just going to share with you. I read this quote and it hit, because I'm like, A lot of times, because I am very independent, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm an empath. So in a relationship, any relationship, call platonic too, like I'm a very soft,
Mm-hmm.
loving person. I don't argue. I don't check up. I'm never, do what you want.
You're not
Because
causing drama.
Never.
You're not causing headaches.
People are going to do what they want. Nothing really bothers me. If I am in a realm with you where I have that peace and that intimacy of safety of knowing that I'm like my being is, nothing really bothers me. I'm very, very easy, and I'm very soft because, like you said, you have to. That's your feminine side. You can't lose that. We can't be like, oh, well, shirts on the couch. I'll tell you what, I make my own money, so you better, like, no, like, that is not ever happening.
So
no. So I have that side that I can always joke around. I'm like, if I really like you, like I'm a baby. The rest of you get the gangster shit. But like,
there was one of two ways this podcast was going to go. We were either going to agree, or you were going to get really pissed off at this conversation.
No.
But I don't know. I don't know you that well. So,
but that's important. It's important to be able to have both, right? Because men, by nature, they want to be providers. You want to let them know that they're providing, whether if it's not financially, then in a sort of a security, or that they're protecting you, or that they can make plans. And you want to give them that legitimacy, and you should. A man should be a man.
And I think that's what's being lost. Just like you said.
Too.
That whole feminine...
That, along with all the other wild stuff.
The feminine
100%.
output in women, especially successful women, it's going away because they're trying to hyper-masculinate themselves to get into the workforce, to make more money, to be more independent, that I don't need a man mentality. It's making them prickly. You know what I mean? And for me as a man, I'm like...
It's very off-putting. Yeah, you don't want that.
I don't want to be... I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I want a woman. You know what I mean? I don't want...
It's so true.
I don't want a man with a vagina. I mean, I hate to say it like that.
But no.
I don't want that. So there's this quote. You know who Jordan Peterson is?
No.
Jordan Peterson, very, very well-known Canadian psychologist.
Got it. Okay.
You got to watch his podcast.
Okay.
You would love it. So now knowing what you're about, you're going to love this guy.
All right.
Because he talks about women empowerment.
And the hockey guy's Canadian too.
Yep. Yeah, there you go.
Canadian too. Yeah, a lot of them have.
So this is this guy's quote. As women are getting better educated with more employment, more status, more prestige, they compete themselves out of the ability to attract a suitable mate for themselves. Very interesting perspective.
I see it with a lot of my girlfriends too, and it's almost crazy.
And then he goes on and he says, as women raise up through the competence hierarchy, meaning education-wise, because women are getting more and more educated all over the world. So competence hierarchy is going up. Who is going to tell women the equal access to opportunity actually is making it more difficult to attract a mate that they are fundamentally attracted to? Because it's a conundrum.
Yeah.
Because all women want to push for an equal yoke in education, in business, and money making and everything. What's crazy is that attitude, if it's pushed to a point,
they lose
will literally lose. Yes, they will lose the thought of, that kind of connection with a man, because a man of true value, a man of high value, has a lot of options. Yeah. Just like a woman
high value has a lot of options.
Has a lot of options as well. It's a little bit different between men and women, obviously. And we both agree men and women are very different. The whole equality push when it comes to men and women, I love equality when it comes to everything, except for when it tiptoes across that line where they say
100% agree.
We're the same.
Yeah.
I'm like, not even close.
And when you ask me if I'm a feminist, like there are aspects of, or the way my mindset is that might shock you. Like, I don't think a woman should be president. I really don't, because there are just some jobs that are more suitable for men. You're more pragmatic. You're more analytical. You're more, we're emotional,
Caring.
I'm going to have my period and PMS and start a war with Iraq. And 2 days later say, whoops, my bad.
I was having an off day.
Our composition is so, so there are some that be like, wow, so I'm not at all. It's just a personal, very personal drive for me. And it's a very personal mission. I think I've been given some sort of a purpose that maybe I can inspire other women just to be self-sufficient and independent, but not lose that. I never want to lose that. I love being a baby. Like, let me sit on the couch and bring me some ice cream. Like, I'm all for it. Like, I will not buck on you at all.
So refreshing. It's extremely refreshing to see.
Yeah.
Because there's so many women that I know that are so into this third wave feminism. Okay. Have you heard the term third wave feminism? It's getting into kind of what you're talking about, where they're talking about things like, well, it's my body. I can put it out there all over if I want. I'm like, do you understand what you're doing? Do you understand what you're actually doing to yourself, to your presence? Do you understand how you're kind of like really pushing yourself aside in a relationship market where
you eliminate a lot with that
a man
as well.
like me is not going to, I won't date somebody with an OnlyFans.
Right.
I've said it on a previous podcast. I won't do it. I got a lot of heat for it. A lot of comments, a lot of people DMing me.
And it's just a personal choice.
It's a personal choice.
There's no right or wrong. Yeah.
But most people that are in my, I don't want to say demographic, but that are in my mindset group, right? So,
our crew.
Our crew.
Yeah. Windermere, like that.
Yeah. So people that are making a lot of money, that have a lot of options, things like that. I am never going to, because there's beautiful women everywhere. Everywhere. Two beautiful women in this room. You two right here. You know what I mean? So you guys are beautiful women. If you're identical twins, one of you's doing OnlyFans and putting your ass all over the internet and the other one's not, guess who I'm going to?
Right.
I'm going to the one that's not the internet's girlfriend. I'm going to this one.
The principle and the morals.
It's a moral thing.
I had a girlfriend of mine, and I know she was joking around, but she said, hey, what if I just did feet, right? No one would know, and I could make money. And I always tell people, even though I make a lot of money, it's never really about the money for me. It's really not. There's not an amount of money that you could give me, and I'm not talking about OnlyFans, for me to take a picture of my feet and sell it. For
somebody to look at in that capacity.
There is not. Yeah. Why? Because that is putting a price on my body, and there's not a dollar amount that I could put on not my elbow, not anything. Now, if I want to post a bikini picture in a thong and post it on my IG, that could very well be that's on me, because that's my entertainment, that's my fun. I control it, and I'm not paid because it
well, listen, that's not the same thing.
Of course it's not, but I'm saying there is not, once you put a dollar amount on yourself, and you'll think this is weird. Anytime I've gone on a date, I pay for the dinner, and the guy's like, "Oh, let's split." No, I'll pay. If we like each other, if we vibe, we go next time. Great, you can get it next time, right? I will always pay for the first date, because if we don't vibe, I just won't never let anyone say that, oh, she went out with me for the dinner, or she.
You have an argument with me. I don't let anybody pay for dinner a lot of times. So when I was dating,
enough, but it's kind of like
me and you would have a fist fight about that one.
I have my way to trick her, and I'm like, even in the beginning, I'm like, here's the credit card. Don't even bother sending the check to the table, because I just don't even want to have the conversation. But it's just a personal peace of mind that said, hey, I went out with you just because I really wanted to go out with you, just because I wanted to get to know you, and that is it. And not that they would think that about me, but that's happened to them 8 out of 10 times. Because this is just what women do this day and age, and I don't ever want to be in that category. It's
a really good way of looking at it. That's you don't see that.
It's just a personal thing.
You don't see that too often. Like I said, you're a pretty rare mindset.
I've always been like a very strange bird.
Yeah, you're a rare mindset in a sea of women, especially successful women, who still understand what their femininity is, who still understand where their place would be in a relationship. And I try to explain this to women who consider themselves alpha women all the time. I said, I want you to look at it from an animal kingdom perspective. There's always an alpha female. Look at a lion pride. Right. There's an alpha female, 100% every time. But guess what? The alpha female understands they can't alpha the alpha male.
Correct.
There is a hierarchy of things. Whether you think it's right, wrong, indifferent, I don't care. I'm just letting you know what it is.
Alpha. Yeah, I love an alpha male. But what happens, because of the expectations that these guys place on themselves, I'll never place an expectation on anyone. They take the beta role, and then they confidence themselves out of it.
100%.
Because like you said.
And you're going to get rid of that in a second. You're not going to deal with that.
No, men date based on their confidence. And it's really true. If they feel like they're intimidated, they're overshadowed, right? They're gonna go to a weaker female, and it's just always like that. They always do go to a beta, a tag along. I'm not a tag along. I'm not someone that you're gonna be like, this is my girlfriend. No.
Yeah, but a true alpha female wants a real alpha male.
100%.
They don't want a beta male.
No.
I don't care if any woman wants to say that out loud.
You're 100% right.
And if
but
anybody,
I think even those that are there that are trying to be alpha ones, And the truth always comes out.
Of course.
They're not. They're
Of course.
beta. They're not confident, and then they go to weaker female. And that's usually what men do when they feel like they can't meet you. They date down,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, and in terms of me, and when you said finding a partner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about all these different things which we agree on, and the feminine part of it. I think maybe what makes me a little different. My understanding of love is very different than most people. I'm always on some fifth level roomie shit, like always.
Okay.
I love love, platonic, romantic, support. Like, I love my friends. I love my guy friends. And it's not contingent on them. That love is within me. I just move with it, right? And when I'm in that realm, I give it 110. And it's overwhelming for a lot of people. It's just how I am, right? And not a lot of people can understand it or match it. So when a lot of people are looking at relationships from a trauma lens, when they haven't healed, everything like that is very scary for them. It's just like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, why are we not fighting? Why are we not... Why aren't you calling me at 2 a.m. Friday to see?
You know what that is? That's beta.
That's beta. You're right.
That's beta.
That's beta.
No alpha male would ever behave like that.
You're right.
Yeah.
So, and maybe that's what it is, but it is also for some other people too. I just offer a different type of love, a different type of support. And people are like, why would you do that? I'll just do something nice to help out. Because I wanted to. Because I wanted to help out, because I know you have a lot of things going on. And you maybe weren't going to get to it, I took care of it.
Yeah.
And that is just how I always move. So when I end my relationships, right, or whatever they are, partnerships, relationships, there's no love lost. That I take that love and I redirect it. Because it was never contingent on you in the first place. It's still in me. And that's just, till someone can understand it fully and match it. And I need very, very emotionally intelligent people. And the problem is, even with intellectual people, you can be very smart. Their emotional intelligence is of a kindergartner.
Yeah. Well, they don't really teach that here, again, which is why I feel like you're probably a step above. Because again, you come from a culture where Croatians love. We love. We're big on family. We're big on food.
We love our
big
entire
on
town.
everything.
We're hugging. This is what we
Everybody's
do.
a cousin. Everybody is. We love everybody.
Well,
so
that's what I called you. I was like, oh, I'm going to my cousin.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I'm like, it's family. Like, because when you're from that region, we consider everyone. That is how we almost like Italians, right?
Yeah, the families are thousands and thousands of people.
Correct. That type of love and openness, and that's not to say that I have a lot of boundaries. I know what I demand. I know my boundaries. That doesn't mean that it takes away from the way that I move and what I offer. And anyone that can reciprocate it, it's okay, because there are people that can.
Yeah.
But I think that's the hard part, because it's not common.
Yeah. Well, because
men are like, what does she want? What is she looking for? What is the end game? Because that's how it is in the 80%, right?
Well,
this girl likes me. She must like me for status, or she might want something.
An uncommon woman is going to need some kind of uncommon man. We just saw what your calculation was.
Terrible.
You're less than 0.5%. You know what I mean? That's tough. That's tough.
Maybe if I take my lashes off.
I don't know. Maybe you could see better with the lashes off. Yeah. So I want to end with a couple questions.
Yes. Tell me.
And these are the controversial topics I see constantly all over the internet, and I love attacking these.
I love controversy.
And I love hearing them from a woman's perspective. So what's your thought on the whole push against quote unquote toxic masculinity?
Here's what we have to decide. We have to decide what we want, right? If that's what you want and you're okay with not finding a partner, and you're saying, hey, I'm all right being single. This is going to be my persona, and this is what makes me happy and drives me, all for it. But we can't have a paradox. We can't push this and then attack every man that tries to do kind gesture and throw it in their face of how independent we are, and then cry to our girlfriend why we can't find a true partner. So you got to decide what you want. Whatever it is, I always say in life, as long as I know the cards I'm playing with, I'm all right with anything. Give me the cards I'm playing with, and I will run that game.
Do you think there's a toxic masculinity issue in this country? Let's just say in America. Let's not go into anywhere else, because people will say, oh, well, in the Middle East, they treat women this and that. I'm like, totally different culture, totally different religion. You can't equate them.
There is some of it. There's toxic beta what's that? Money chasing. What is that thing called?
Oh yeah, so like a gold digger thing.
Yeah, gold
Okay.
digger. So like, there's a lot of that. There's some of this. I think we've literally just pushed to the extremes.
Okay.
We've become a generation of extremes.
But I think
one way or another.
I think they keep throwing the idea that being masculine in general is toxic, because if you're a masculine man, this is what third wave feminism is basically pushing.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Maybe I misunderstood. Tell me. Okay.
So men being hyper masculine. I consider
Okay.
myself a hyper masculine man. I got all kinds of guns. I want to go camp in the woods. I like sports cars.
that type of masculine.
The whole term of like toxic masculinity.
They're saying that's toxic.
They're saying that being a masculine man is toxic because it does not equate to empowering women. They automatically
100% not.
They
No.
automatically equate it to what the woman's perspective
No.
is. And I'm like,
I think if you didn't have guns in your house, it would be a problem. I'm like, where's your? What do we got here?
yeah.
Are we sewing? Like, what do we?
It's a weird
love that.
phenomenon.
You should be
because
into your cars. You should be into your boys' night, into the sports, into guns, and absolutely 100%.
But
I think that's so attractive. As long as you can turn it off when you're in a conversation with a woman and be able to grasp and understand a woman like you can.
Well, of course. So there's obviously you have to have some emotional intelligence. You have to be able to connect with a woman in an emotional way. But men are largely not emotional. Men are largely pretty grunt. You know what I mean? Like we're pretty.
Andrew Tate, I agree with 80% of what he says.
I was just going to ask you about him.
100%. He said something. What did he say? He said men by nature are not supposed to be monogamous. But you as a woman, right? If I know, and this is why I'm so careful about my name, my reputation. I don't want to go anywhere where someone can say, oh, yeah, I've been with it. No. I keep my private life is very private. Your name is your everything as a woman. He said, if I can say, oh, 2 of my friends have been with you, I don't want anything to do with you. And he's right about that. Men get a pass on some of this. They do, unfortunately. If I connect with you and I know that I have a solid partnership, 100%, and something happens one night on a drunken night, I don't drink, but yours, I can overlook it. I'm not that. I would be more upset if you disrespected me to my face in some way, or had a texting conversation with someone, or the physical on that, you're men. What's the percentage of monogamy in the animal kingdom? I think it's like 10 animals.
Not very often.
If that,
it's
the bald
not,
eagle, and I don't know who else.
There's a couple birds.
But that part doesn't, because to me, emotional, deep trust, core love, it's so different than the physical. The physical I can separate, right?
Well, it's because you understand the difference between how men and women look at sex.
Correct.
For a man to look at, I mean, we're pretty stupid animals. I'm just going to say sexually. Sorry, men listening to this.
Yeah, you can be a dumbass sometimes and do something
pretty
stupid
dumb.
on a Friday night, and so what?
Well, we look at a woman, right? So let's say you find Kim Kardashian. She's a 10 to you. If Kim Kardashian's at your house and you're a man in a relationship and she's in lingerie and she wants to have sex with you, 9.9 out of 10 of those men are going to have sex with Kim K.
Well, because I know that if I was a guy, I'd do the same thing.
So that's what I'm saying, though. Men are very physical.
Yeah.
But if they have a woman they have at home that they love, doesn't mean they stop loving them.
Right. No.
I just heard this argument the other day. It's not
even related.
It's not even related.
No.
But now this is where the paradox happens, because women are so different sexually. A woman, if Jason Momoa, or who's the guy you like?
Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper. So if you're in a relationship and you love your man, right? You love your man, husband, boyfriend, whatever. And Bradley Cooper is in there and he's like, hey, baby, we're going to get down.
Yeah.
The likelihood of you having sex with them is pretty low.
Correct.
Because women are more emotional when it comes to their sexual energy. They have to have a connection that's deeper usually than men. Men will kind of put their dick in whatever they, you know what I mean?
And you might be right about that, or it's just, I'm more of like a tunnel vision.
I'm going in a general term. I'm not saying anybody.
That's
you know what I
true.
mean?
You're
so
right.
in a general term, women's sexual energy and men's sexual energy, they're almost polar opposite. You know what I mean?
And it's
only recently that men have really become.
That's where the stereotype.
It is.
Well, same thing with like partying, like with substances, right? And I don't judge. I don't do any of it. I did in my past. But for men, it's almost like, that's all right. But when you see a woman, it's like, oof. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the stereotype. And it's just the unfortunate truth, but that's just how it is. You know what I mean? It's like, let him party, da da da. But you see the woman with the same, you're like, wow, that's a really bad look. Like,
but that's because of what men and women differ in and how they value their partner. Women, so the other day I heard this, and this just hit me right in the gut. Women care about men's future.
that's true.
Men care about a woman's past. And I was like, oh shit. I'm like, that's pretty true because your past matters to me. If you've been sleeping around with all kinds of men and I find out about that and you were drugging it up, and I don't have anything to do with you. For women, if you're like, okay, yeah, he had sex with a lot of girls in the past.
And the men that don't care about that are not quality men anyways.
Correct. They're not quality men. So it's really funny when you look at it like that, because then you can understand from a woman's perspective and a man's perspective, how do you become more attractive to the person you want to be? It's by making sure that you understand what they're attracted by. You know what I mean? And there's I'm going to read you one last, it's kind of a question.
But it's an exclusive thing, right?
It is.
I always say you got it. Don't be everywhere. If you keep yourself exclusive, and I'm not just talking about body, of course, body, but exclusive in terms of mind, in terms of business, in terms of everything, that is what everyone wants. Who wants a Toyota? Everyone wants a Lambo.
Yeah.
But very few are driving. So everyone's searching for that, right?
Yep. Everybody has their Lambo.
And you have to do that in your personal life.
Exactly. So this was a dating tip for women from Kevin Samuels, who unfortunately passed away, I think, last year.
I don't think anything's going to help me, but let's see if Kevin...
No. This is not for you. This is for everybody. This is for everybody to listen to. Dating tip for women that he put out there, and I loved what it meant because of what I was just talking about, how we equate what each other are attracted to, right? So the question... what does the kind of man that you want in a woman? So if you look at that question, so what does the kind of man that you want, what does he want in a woman? If you can understand that question and ask it,
that's the key.
And ask it from a larger perspective, you can do the same thing with men. Then you will understand, oh shit, I either need to stop doing this now, or I need to behave in a different way, or thank God I didn't behave in that way. Or if you did behave in that way, you need to figure out how to minimize the damage that you cause. So all these girls that are OnlyFans and all this stuff, again, I don't judge, just like you. And do whatever you want.
I think some of them are more self-aware, right? Like some of them say, I really can't be in a relationship with someone right now because of what I do.
But
they're not going to understand.
What they're not getting is that's going to affect them for years, if not a lifetime.
Correct.
Because if people find that, internet's forever, guys.
They can coexist. I think that's where we're losing a lot. If I'm, I got to be hard. No, you can still be feminine. You can still, and I'm very, like, I wouldn't say homey.
Sure.
But, if I'm in a relationship, I make sure you eat. I'm like, hey, like my mom made food. Let me bring it over. Like late day, like let me send you food. Like I'm those parts you never want to lose, because that's the core. Like you said, that's what we as women, that's our natural state. Like you men are animals. That's our natural state. You can control it. Like we can contain this.
Yeah.
But you can also run this. You can also be a businesswoman and be independent without it infringing or being too alpha in your personal life. And through the years, I've gotten to that. But that was also a lot of like self-love.
Sure.
And learning what, and eliminating substances completely, because that's just not a lifestyle I want to be part of, and getting my mind sharp. Like that's my biggest tool that I have.
Yeah.
And when you clear your mind and you can see kind of from a broad perspective, then it's like, okay, everything aligns within me, everything aligns outside of me.
You're a fantastic motivation for women. I think more women need to hear about you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I think more women need to listen to you speak. I hope a lot of them get a lot from this podcast. They may not agree with everything you say.
I know
they
that.
will probably
even
not
my
agree
friends
with,
think I'm crazy on some part, but I'm like,
they'll probably not agree with most of the things I say. I cannot wait to read the YouTube, Instagram, Facebook comments. But you are an inspiration. So congratulations on all your recent PR.
Thank you so
Congratulations
much. Thank you for having me.
Congratulations on all the articles. Keep spreading this information. Congratulations on your businesses.
Thank you.
You're just going to keep getting more successful with this attitude and mindset.
And
I hope you find that man, that 0.5% or 0.05%.
Tag Bradley.
I'm gonna tag Bradley Cooper. We're gonna do the hashtags for him, and maybe he's gonna see it. Is he married? I don't even know. Does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Thank you so much for
there you
go.
Is all I remember.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate you.
Thank you. This is awesome.
Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you paying attention. I appreciate you talking in the comments. I appreciate you guys messaging me. I appreciate you guys sharing this. If you guys want to watch more of this content, take a click right here. You can get more videos. Have a good day.